Blog Talk Radio.
You are now listening to the Evolution Hour with host Rob Gauthier and George Spirakis. Hey everybody, this is the Rob and George Enlightenment Evolution Hour. This is Rob.
And this is George.
And we want to say hello to you guys on this beautiful, beautiful Wednesday evening at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern. That's 6 p.m. Pacific time. We have had a wonderful last few weeks with some of the greatest guests we've ever had. We've had Wendy, we've had Brad, we've had Daniel, and we had Daniel even pop in last week for a surprise visit. It was very, very exciting, very wonderful talk about belief systems and dealing with people whose belief systems are outside of our own so much that it can cause problems and friction. I thought that was a beautiful thing. Yeah. Also, we've got a way to reach us every week here at the Rob and George Enlightenment Evolution Hour. You can always call in during any of our shows. There's a couple ways to do that, but the 347-308-8788 phone number is always a perfectly valid option. You don't have to call in, but you can listen from your phones as well if you're having problems with the internet. Or you can also sign in for a Blog Talk Radio account and take a Skype account and link it to it and sign in and call in with your Skype account for those of you who have Skype and prefer to do that over telephone. So there's a million ways you can reach us. The newest way to reach us is through our email, therobandgeorgeshow@gmail.com. All one word, all small letters, therobandgeorgeshow@gmail.com. Feel free to write us the letters. We check them every couple of weeks to make sure we're getting the vibe of everything and what's going on. George checks them actually a little more often than that for everything. Upcoming things that we've got going on, we're still going to be doing it. By next week, this week, we'll have a date set for the Open Forum 22, which will be very exciting, as well as an event that's coming up with myself and one of our previous guests, Brad Johnson. We're going to be doing a channeling workshop. So for those of you who are interested in channeling or have been trying to learn how to channel, this is a perfect opportunity. It's going to be a small group of 25 or less, but it's going to be a several-hour PowerPoint presentation as well as both of us talking and the channeled entities themselves coming in and talking about their perspectives on channeling. It'll be a very awesome event. Check Treb Channeling soon for details about that. But besides that, I want to thank all the callers, too, who have been calling in every week. We've had great show-ups for callers. We've had great opportunities to connect to people. Tell us how important that is, brother, about having people who call in and who share their information.
Oh, yes. Back for another exciting show. I'm so excited. The callers that we have are just beautiful souls, and the channelers that we've had, Brad, Daniel Scranton, Wendy, Kennedy. It's just been really, really excellent. I mean, the information that is really priceless that we're all receiving here, and I'm just delighted to be a part of it, and really look forward to the future shows.
Oh, absolutely, brother. It's always exciting to co-create this experience with everyone, the people who come in, the people who call, the people who just add their energy by listening and being a part of that. It's such a wonderful thing. Have you heard anything new, brother? Anything going on this last week or so? Anything new that you've heard throughout the community?
Really, nothing other than as really all of the channelers that have been on the show have expressed how November is really looking to be a really what can you say? It could be a roller coaster ride depending on where we're at in our vibrations, and I myself are looking forward to it. It's really great to hear this type of information to kind of be more aware of where we at in our vibrations. So that's, I think, for our listeners, that's one strong point that we could recommend to be in a constant awareness of where we're at any given moment, just to be a little more conscious of our vibrations and to take heed to these wonderful messages that we're given.
Absolutely, brother. And I also want to make a quick announcement, too. It's something I had forgot to in our original announcements, that one of our regular listeners and callers, Savita, is going through some difficult times, and I hope that all of you guys can send your loves and prayer out to her and her family. Her father just passed away this weekend. She's a very great woman, one of my dear friends who's been following the work for more than a year now, and I'm very close to her, very connected to her. She's probably one of the sweetest people you could ever meet in real life. She's one of the greatest people, and she really could use all the good intents, thoughts, prayers, meditations, healings, anything that is in your belief system to send her. Please do, because it's understandable. All of us who love people, who are attached to people, we have that connection, and it was a very difficult time for her. So any support that you guys could send out there to her is more than appreciated, and she's one of our greats. I don't think she'll be with us today. Hopefully she will be, but if not, we miss you, Savita. We love you very dearly, and thank you guys all for being supportive, not just of the community here, but with each other. I've heard a lot of people who've met from this show, or who've heard other people call or mention a specific Facebook group. They all get together and they meet up just because of this conduit of the show. And I think that's a very, very, if that's all this show ever did, it would be a perfect opportunity, because that's the spiritual community needs.
Yeah.
And I know, Brother Q, a couple weeks ago you talked about the importance of spiritual communities. Can you reiterate some of those ideas for people?
Yeah. First, I'd like to say my condolences as well to Savita and her family. We're all with her in spirit, and we're all together. We feel what she feels, and it's so important. She's a very special person, and anybody that knows her will attest to that. So, the communities that have branched off of this the show and the connections to the show has really been a beautiful thing. It's exposing more people to the awareness of what we're going through with this ascension period, and to have the wonderful guests, Wendy, Daniel, Brad Johnson, just to add some flavor to it. It adds a lot of color that a different channeler brings to the program, and it's so enlightening to hear what these entities have to say, sending us their love to the collective and helping us through this emotional time that we're going through. And that's most likely what we'll talk about today is the energies that are coming to the earth and what they're doing for us and helping us ascend upwards. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, thank you too, brother. And the spiritual communities, it reminded me, it just gave me an inspiration. After the show, I'm going to go back on Facebook, and I'm going to set up a special Facebook, not a page, but a Facebook group. And this is where we can all get together and just post things randomly, share our thoughts, our emotions, and our feelings on things. And we're going to call it the Friends of the Rob and George Show. And I'm going to make that page up as soon as we're done. All of you guys who listen on a regular basis, feel free to join it. Even if there's only 40, 50, 100 people in the room, it's about the energy we produce and share with each other. I think that'll be a great idea. As we're talking today and taking callers, maybe I'll start working on that before the show's over. But either way, by tomorrow, anyone who listens to this on the archive, jump on Facebook and type in Friends of the Rob and George Show. And that's the official title instead of The Friends. Let's not get two thes in one sentence. So we'll just go Friends of the Rob and George Show. You guys come on, and that will be our official off-air meeting spot for everybody. I'll be there. George will be there. I'll try to get our guests to join the group as well. Daniel, I know he loves to post on Facebook. He loves to communicate, as does Brad. Wendy will sometimes, too, post on Facebook, and she's really great about getting back with people, too. So I'll see if they're willing to do that, and all of us can kind of join up on that group. And I'm friends, too, with a few other channelers. Sean Swanson, Nora Harold. Hopefully we'll be able to get them people on, too, eventually to the show, but also into that group. It would be really nice to have a good collective consciousness off-air presence as well as on-air presence, too. And I know a lot of people are taking the energy from this group, from the energy that they're feeling here or the callers that they hear call in, and they take that through the week. Speaking of callers, we've got a few of them on hold right now. So if you're okay with that, brother, we'll take the first caller.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, 360 area code. Who do we have with us this evening?
Well, hello, dear ones. This is Risha calling from the Pacific Ocean.
Hey,
hi, Risha. How are you?
Oh, I am so good, and you guys are so right on with what's in my heart. My husband and I just got back from a 5-day gathering there were about 90 people. It's this spiritual gathering that you're talking about, the ones who we just felt so much love in our hearts. And the pretty much the intent behind that whole thing was teaching us or just practicing to love ourselves. And I really saw it when we each love ourselves. That allows me to fill up when I love Risha. It allows me to fill up with so much love that I can really take in what's happening on the planet, and I can love other people.
Oh, absolutely. That's where it starts, brother, isn't it?
Oh, Risha, I mean, what an introduction. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, loving yourself is the first and foremost thing that we all should be doing. I mean, imagine when we love ourselves, that's expressed outward then. That's our outward reality. And thank you so much for saying that, because it's the absolute truth. I mean, without that, there just isn't that foundation that we could stand on. So it's thank you so much, Risha.
Yeah, absolutely, Risha. We thank you for that, too. And I know you're also a regular caller, and it's great to have that confirmation to other people, too. A lot of people don't experience the self-love. I would say the majority of people I know are always looking externally for that love in their life. They're saying, I need a relationship with a boyfriend. I need a relationship with a girlfriend, a husband, a wife,
right.
All of these external loves. And it's so important to bring that back to ourselves, because literally, like you said, brother, without that self-love, without that confirmation of who you are, there's no need for external. I have a very, very, very dear friend of mine. Him and his brother have been my lifelong friends. You guys have heard me talk about my friend Scott. His brother is going through a lot of those same things. He's with a specific girl, and they break up often and get back together. But all they're both doing is looking for that love in someone else instead of themselves. They've been through such difficult and disconnected times, just like I was before in my life 5 years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago. It's the same exact thing. That disconnection causes you to have to find that source externally, and I think it's beautiful that people are starting to realize and see and practice, more so than even acknowledging it, is the practice of that self-love. And thank you so much, Risha, for that.
Well, you know, I can see how we get that way, because when we're babies, when we're helpless, it seems like the love comes from outside, from the mother or from someone who nourishes us. So it seems I can really get how we get in that place where we have to look for love from the outside in someone else. And yet, when I've just been practicing this for a very short time, but what I do is whenever I feel anxious or I feel irritated at my husband or whatever, the world, whatever a thought comes in my head, I feel where I feel that in my body, and then I just say, I love you, Risha. I love you, Risha. I love you, Risha. And I say it. When I first started, I got so irritated. I hated to say it. It was just sounded icky, and I had so much resistance. But I kept at it, And now it's almost automatic. I just can't tell you the difference in my life. I really feel that source of unlimited love is right in my heart, and now I love you, Risha, and really mean it and really feel it, and also I feel other people feel it when I'm in their presence.
Oh, absolutely, Risha. I think that, like you said, the conditioning that we were brought up in as children and young adults, we're all looking for that outside love to think that it will complete us. But the uneasy feeling in the beginning is we kind of look at it as narcissistic or kind of selfishness. But when we truly love ourselves, that will raise our vibration, so we can attract those people into our lives that are actually more of a vibrational match than someone that two people, let's say, that are kind of wounded. They're going to meet at that wounded level in vibration. And I think if everybody starts to learn how to love themselves, and when you pass the mirror, to say I love you, and that will automatically raise your vibration, and your reality will just respond. It has no other choice than to respond back with that love, and it's such a beautiful thing.
Yes, brother, absolutely. And we talk a lot about here, I know, brother, you use the term quantum thought, and that's obviously the process. The law of attraction at the base always works that way. When you put something out, you get something in. But I wanted to even break it down to a more basic level. You see a lot of people, for one, obviously when I get into this conversation, I have to first speak of the inequality of how men and women are looked in their sexuality. So I'll put that out front. I understand that men and women are set on very different standards when it comes to their sexuality. But many men will talk about the promiscuity of a woman and say that has to do with daddy issues or issues with one's condition and their connection to their father. And it's often psychologists, psychiatrists often elaborate to that concept, because there's somewhat of a trueness. They have this connection with a male figure, and that male figure is either dominant to them or mean to them. They don't get that kind of love. And as children and young people, that's that looking for love thing. And that's just another condition or another actual part of that whole concept, looking for that love from external. So usually women will turn to either romantic relationships or sexual relationships to fulfill that. And again, this can all be beaten by loving oneself. And again, there's nothing wrong with sexuality, nothing wrong with looking for sexual relationships, whether you're married, not. I'm not here to judge any of those things whatsoever, but there's a trueness that comes with that too. And we have to look at all of these things down to the most basic levels and realize that all of these problems that people feel that they have with their sexuality or with their relationships literally comes down to that one thing. It's self-love.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that's a large part of these energies that we'll be experiencing. Well, we already have been, but I think they'll be more intensified in November regarding the male and female energies. It's the balancing of those two that we all have. We all have male and female energies within us, and I think it's going to throw, depending on if we have more or less of one or the other. I think it's a balancing of those two that we'll be experiencing. So, women, obviously they've been oppressed for thousands and thousands of years, so there's no mistake why things are changing. I mean, the scales are changing now for a good reason. I mean, women are being empowered themselves, as they should be, but I think the problem lies where the masculine side doesn't know how to react with this. So I think that's the problem with a lot of relationships. They're more of the old patterns, the ego mind versus the living heart centered. So I think that's a large part of it. But it's the balancing of those energies, I think, that are what we'll be experiencing in the next month and in the future.
That's a beautiful point you bring up, brother. And what is your thoughts on that too, Risha, with the balancing of the masculine, feminine, and also how it relates to sexuality?
Oh, that's so good. That's such a good question, because I'm right there with that too. I want, George, when you were talking about, I'm going back to the I love you. When you were talking about, I can't remember exactly your words, so I'll say, when I get irritated, I realize I am in 3D. I'm in the third dimension. When I'm irritated, frightened, all that. When I begin to self-love, I can literally feel myself rising into a 5D place, into a 5D vibration. I can feel it. And no longer does the thing that used to irritate me or that originally irritated me, no longer does it irritate me. And when I'm in that 5D position, having to do with the sexual feelings, it feels as though androgyny or balance of male and female is really going to be able to happen to those of us who are willing, starting whenever, November, whenever, the energies are going to be ripe for us to love ourselves into our 5D position and then realize our balance of male and female. That's how we have to do it as mass consciousness or collective consciousness, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, Risha. That's a great point. And I think it's something that we're not used to thinking of. You know, we come in this, we're birthed into this existence, either male or female, but within those two paradigms, there are, a woman could have a lot of masculine energy and a man could have a lot of feminine energy. We've all seen those two types of souls, where one is, the man is feminine and the woman is more masculine. And I think it's the balancing of those energies that is really what we have to do. It's like having the separation from source. When we come in here, we look as God is outside of ourselves, when in fact He's within us. And I think when we learn to incorporate that we are all that is, that we are an aspect of source, that empowers you to start thinking in that way. And you made a great point about it's almost an instant vibrational lift when you are aware of it and you are conscious of the fact that you are an aspect of source, and it really changes your whole outlook and changes your reality immediately, and those people that you come in contact with as well. So that's a very good point. Thank you so much, Risha.
Yeah, thank you, Risha. We appreciate your call. We appreciate all your conversations you always bring to us. They have such great depth and emotion and feeling to it. We appreciate your call very much. We'll keep you on hold, and that way, once we're done with the other callers, if you're still on and you'd still like to chat, we'll be able to bring you back up. But one point that's brought up before we take our next caller, I want to bring up a point. You talked about that reminding yourself of divinity, reminding yourself of that God within you. That's one of the things I still hear a riff, almost like a rift within the metaphysical community itself. There's still the concept of what God is and what God consciousness is, but it's a reminder to everyone that there is no external God. There's no God that's looking outside of you in that way. From all the things that we've been taught from what God is everything. It's a combination of everything. Even though God has His own personality, even though God has His own energy, it doesn't have a specific want or a point of view. It doesn't impose its will upon others. It enjoys that freedom that it gives you in free will, and also lets you play that divine game. It lets you go into physical reality so that you can experience the things that you want to experience as a soul, as an oversoul. And it allows you to go through that with some sort of mixture of fate and it's almost fate and a free will at the same time. It's very hard to explain, and that's one of the things that a lot of people have that hard grasp on. How can we deal with fate and free will at the same time? Well, we make our own decisions as we go through, but there's always a path laid out for us. And if we fail to go down that path when we're young, we'll get it again in another year, another month, another day. We'll always have that opportunity to go back down that path, especially if that's the path we've chosen before we incarnate. If we want to be a person who is destitute and poor for our whole life, if that's the experience we need, and we don't start that way, we'll always have opportunities to do that. And most people don't look at it as, I have an opportunity to be poor. I don't have an opportunity to lose everything I have. But that is a true experience. And that's the thing. This God consciousness has no wish for you to be rich. It has no wish for you to be poor, to be nice or to be mean. It has a wish for you to choose and then you to go out and experience that choice. So it's something I want to talk about because I've had a few people contact me in the last 2 or 3 weeks with this, not misunderstanding, because you can't misunderstand God. Everyone has their own relationship and own energy with God, but it's almost a misconception that God is out there doing things to them so that they can have the experience that God wants them to have instead of vice versa. You're reaching out into God as a part of everything so that you can have your own experience. I think that's a very important part to bring up. I know we have another caller, too, in the 406 area code. Who do we have with us this evening?
Hey, it's Jesse. Nice to talk to you again, Rob.
Hey, Jesse, how you doing, bud?
Hi, Jesse.
Good. Good. How about you? I heard your show with Wendy last week, and I just want to say it was really informative and really interesting. So thank you for that.
Are you talking about the show that we did here on the Rob and George show, or are you talking about the event that we had done?
The Rob and George show, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. We loved doing that, didn't we, brother?
Oh, yeah, that Wendy is such a great person. And again, when we hear these different channelers and the different flavor that they bring, I mean, she brought in the Palladian Collective, amongst others, but yeah, she was really great. Really loved that show.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse.
I guess I had kind of a multifaceted question today, and it was kind of revolving around something that you brought to my attention when I had a session with you probably like a year ago or maybe a little bit under. Treb was actually the first person that ever made me kind of aware of one of my guides and how they came from the Alcyone system in the Pleiades, and I've really been kind of working on strengthening that bond, and, you know, I've gone to other intuitives, and it's really been fascinating, and so I want to say thank you for that, first off, and thank Treb, and then secondly, I guess I was kind of curious about how you believed, what your thoughts were on disclosure and stuff, and making public consciousness aware of an ET presence, and how that's progressing, I guess, and then also, with that, I guess, like, the fear collective that's been prevalent for so long on this planet, in, like, all aspects of life, from, I guess, the media to, you know, just your day-to-day interactions with people, it's, like, still, I feel it's changing for me, at least, and I kind of see little changes around me. I don't know how that's reflected in the macrocosm, but I guess I'm curious how you deal with that fear collective when you approach it. Like, have you ever talked to even Treb and stuff about how if Treb was to physically visit you, like, there's a part of you that's in fear, I guess, or could be in fear, and how you feel about kind of disseminating that, and how the collective and you individually are dealing with just the alienness of everything, I guess. So I think that's kind of a long question.
No, absolutely. I think that is a perfect question. And first of all, I'd like to say you're very welcome for having that session. I appreciate the thanks for that. But that's what I do in my highest excitement, too, is to kind of connect people to Treb as a reflection of the things that are already within them that they're either unable to see or unwilling to see, depending on the person and the situation. If you'd like to, brother, take a crack at this one first, or you want me to go ahead with that? It's up to you.
Yeah, well, Yeah, I'll take a crack at it. Yeah, I mean it's a great question, Jesse. Thank you so much. I think starting off at the collective fear and it's really all conditioning and it's there. But I think we need to, if we do it more on an individual basis, like you mentioned, I think letting go of that fear will dissipate. I mean, every time you raise your vibration, and this is something that I had a session with Treb as well, where he mentioned your being happy and being in your highest vibration spreads out to the collective. So I think what we really need to do, again, with that self-love attitude is also raising that vibration, which automatically goes into the grid around the earth that raises the collective as well. So you're right. Things are changing, and you can see them. I mean, it's happening every day. Things are breaking down. I mean, it's just a matter of time where things will change, but it has to be a process, and it has to be a slow one, because just as you mentioned with the actual meeting of an alien or Treb, really our consciousnesses aren't ready, as most of us think. I had an experience like this personally with someone where they were communicating with someone on the outer realms of visitation, and they could tell by our vibration that we weren't ready to see them on a conscious level. It happens in the dream state, but I think on a conscious level, we really aren't ready yet to meet that gray or meet that the different type of humanoid entities that are out there. Again, if we have that self-love that are raised in our highest vibration, I think that's when it happens. That's when it's most apt to occur. But two great questions. Thank you so much, Jesse.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. I agree with you 100% too on that. And I also want to add too, the ET connection to humanity is something that's so deeply ingrained in fear systems of people. We look at the intentional concept of the Orson Welles and the War of the Worlds thing that came out. That showed the collective consciousness how fearful it was. That was a reminder. And as unintentional as they expressed it was, in my own heart, knowing how the system works, how we are allowing ourselves to be integrated into a system that has these challenges and fears and basic theme of disconnection for our growth, that was kind of an intentional thing, and it's brought back to us to show us that fear, because in all reality, what is the human experience? The human experience is to live with this connection. It's to live with an amount of fear,
right?
And it's to break away from that. That's what the evolution of the human experience is about. It's about finding our own, not just our own divinity. I always use that word. And I guess I overuse it. It's not just about finding our own divinity. It's finding out our true, aligned, resonant self. And down to the core, all fractals go up to the oversoul, so they're all divine. So that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the alignment of what we really are. Treb talked to a young man, I believe his name, okay, I'm not going to guess on the name. It was a long time ago. Over about 2 years ago, he talked to a guy. And he said, Treb, how do I get over these fears? How do I find my excitement? It's to be the greatest you that you can be in that exact moment of time. And that's so basic, but it's so true. Finding these alignments with what we really are. And when that goes out to the ET experience, extraterrestrial first contact, as a collective, yes, it will be a little more difficult. You're dealing with a lot of people who are fearful. But that's the beautiful thing. When we change ourselves, all that stuff changes with us. We don't have to wait for the world to change. We change within ourselves. And it's not just, I want to connect to an entity. I want to experience this. It is, I believe that this is the normal experience. I believe that my world that I live in isn't full of people of hatred and anger and frustration and violence and stupidity. That's not the mindset to have. The mindset is to be, I am in a place with people who are good. I'm in a place with people who are loving, and I am in a place with people who are accepting of an extraterrestrial race or entities from outside of our world to come down and connect. And that belief doesn't have to be at 100%. When it is at 100%, you'll experience it all over the place. But even if you can build it from a 20 to 30, you will see that 10% change in your existence. And then you build it to a 40 to 60, you see another 20% come. So as much as you're really able to believe that, as soon as you're able to change those deep, deep core beliefs of what your existence you're in, you will find yourself in that existence. And that's the hardest part to relay to people. It's not about what you want to experience. Yes, that's a big part of it. Yes, playing into your excitement. It's your belief about the environment you're in. Most people think, I'm in a horrible place with horrible people, and I'm just trying to get ahead of the game. That's not a feeling to have. I find myself, when I'm in my own difficulties in my own life, whether it be with relationships or daily events, where I'm like, man, this is really going to suck. It's really going to be bad. And guess what? It's exactly that, and I've made that happen. Because I'm believing that, and that's a core belief. But when I start saying, well, this ain't going to be so bad, well, I start noticing it's not going to be, and as much as I'm able to change my mindset about that, that's the percentage of environment change I see. So it really is down. You look at Dr. Greer and all of his research, and I've heard a million things about this guy, whether it be he's a charlatan, he's a hokey-pokey cameraman, whatever the case is. No matter what anyone says about his work, the theory is correct. George has experienced it. I've experienced it. We've experienced it together. When your intent is there to see an entity in a ship, guess what? You're going to see an entity in a ship. If your vibration is matching the level of a connection to something of that level, you will experience that. And you don't have to go out and do all these rituals and all these wonderful things, the mantras and stuff. Yes, that's a permission slip. Yes, it helps. Yes, it will increase your chance if you believe it will. But the main concept is to be in that vibration of wanting to experience it, of believing you can experience it, and to be in the mindset of positivity that you will experience it. And I think that's the trick. Once you integrate yourself to those kind of thought patterns, once you integrate yourself to the belief that everyone around you will be in the same belief as you, that's when you experience on the big picture. And I really think that's the trick there, bud.
It is. It is. That's exactly right, brother. Yeah, it's all about vibration. You have to remember these entities that are coming to us individually and collectively do not, I mean, they love us. They have so much unconditional love for us. They don't want to hurt us. They don't want to scare us. So they can tell by our vibrations, just like Treb, when he reads your energy. It's the colors they see. And they can tell, is this person scared? Is, depending on where you're at vibrationally, they can tell. But if your vibration is raised high, absolutely. I mean, like you said, brother, we both experienced that, and it's very true. So,
absolutely. And go ahead, Jesse, if you got any more questions or comments to that part, go ahead, brother.
Yeah, thank you for that. That was really awesome. I was just, it is like a process of kind of letting go of fears, and it makes me think of like, even when you're like a little kid, how like you're afraid of whatever's underneath your bed or in your closet, and then you gain a level of experience and maturation, and it kind of, you realize how oftentimes your imagination is like the worst kind of fear that you have. And I guess I was kind of like, just lastly, I was curious like how, because 2012, everybody has talked about that before, and Treb and many other entities kind of talked about how it was a lifting of the quarantine, but also maybe more importantly, it seemed like it was, they said, a time when the mass consciousness shifted like minutely, ever so tiny, from a negative state to a positive state. So how do you see that progression kind of going today on a mass scale? Like how, and that fear, like do you think it's accelerating, or and if so, how do you kind of see that in media or any in your day-to-day life. So, yeah, I guess that's it to wrap it up.
Absolutely, brother. I see it going on all the time. We see it on the news, all these things that people are going out, the governments, they're saying they're trying to better, and things are kind of falling apart. The financial system, the inequality of things, all these things are kind of manifesting themselves out. And we take it for granted because the government's always kind of stupid and the government's always messing up. But it's really showing our want to have changes made, and I think that's very important to see. And it's not just in the media where it goes, I guess. In the daily life, I've seen so many experiences with it, just people in their daily life starting to wake up. Even situations that I'm going through, and I think I'll touch a little bit on that here after George gets his take on this, but even more so in my own personal life, things of my own that I always had deep-seated fears about, they are coming to the surface. And it's not a system that requires it to be nice and pretty and happy and loving. It's no, this is time to change. And if you're not willing to change, we're going to put it right in your face until you deal with it or overcome it. And that's all the chances you have. And that's why a lot of people back in August started going through all these horrible, crazy things. And now they're starting to calm down, and then there's going to be another spike in December. And it's all in the way we're taking it in our own personality to do it. And in the world, you see all these things, stories. I noticed 6 months ago in the news, you could not hear one good story. And most people won't even listen to the news for that reason alone. But it doesn't affect me like it does some people, so I watch it consistently. And I see more stories about handicapped kids who are doing good, people who are saving other people, people who are helping defend other people against crime now in this last 6 months or year than I had my whole life. And that in itself is a reflection how the collective is changing via the news, via the communities, via the government. Go ahead, brother, too. Any addition on that?
Yeah, that's another great question. I mean, whether you believe it or not, all of the collective their vibrations are rising. They have to, because we're on Earth, which is an entity that is raising its vibration. These are the growing pains that we're going through. I mean, you can see it as plain as day. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, I could see it. It's plain as day. There's people they're against this. They're not this behavior anymore. We can see it with the male and female energies. Relationships are just they're changing the dynamics because it no longer works anymore. We have to get more heart-centered, and it's very clear that this is what's happening now. And we shouldn't think that it's going to happen in the next lifetime. I mean, we have to remember, time and space, it does not really exist. And box now. That's the quantum thought regarding the time-space continuum. And once you start expanding your consciousness, that's when you'll start to really see the change. Like, well, why can't it be? I mean, I myself as a child or as a young adult said, we have all these planets. I mean, how absurd to think that we're the only living entities, in this galaxy, in the universe. I mean, really, it's about time. I mean, you mentioned disclosure. It's just a matter of time. They can't hold it anymore. It's going to expose itself, and we're all a part of that. We are looking through. We have more clarity as a collective, and it's changing, and I'm so grateful for it.
Absolutely, brother. And I think a lot of people's fears in relationships, losing family members, things like this have been one of the deals in personal lives. And that's also being played out. It's played out all the time. And I know it's hard to use certain examples because people say, well, that's just a normal thing. That happens all the time. And that's true, but the amount of times that we hear it, the amount of times that we see it is increasing exponentially. I think when we hear the concepts of, oh my gosh, the government's going bankrupt, they're out of business, oil prices are going up, all these things that people are fearful about has been showing more and more and more in the media. The government breakdown, the 2 weeks that it went down, and now the healthcare issue. The healthcare issue is out there. It upsets a lot of people. It's affecting a lot of people. Myself personally, the healthcare that we got, and that brought a fear to me. My son requires a lot of medical attention. So insurance is something that we were only able to get from one company at that point, and now it'll start benefiting us more. But that came out, and that fear came up to me. Oh, no, how am I going to take? But I realized it's not a big deal. We can reassign to anything. I just got to relax and got to realize that this is a part of the game. So all these things, anything that strikes fear into you that you see on the news, be mindful of it. Don't too many people push it away and say, this is just negative stuff that they're putting in our brains so that we don't have to think with our heart. No, don't use that as an example. Say, oh my gosh, this is here for a reason. I'm watching this news at this time for this reason. That brought up a fear. This is something I got to look into. Those fears, those emotions, all of them are there for a reason. When you lose someone you love, that pain is there for a reason. And it's not there to punish you. It's not there to do anything of that sort. It's there to say, guess what? You had put so much of yourself into a connection to another person that you haven't had that time to reflect back your own beliefs and your own needs and your own love, all these things. And it's hard, no matter what. Us as the people are so deeply integrated to the concepts of death being a bad thing, that's always going to occur for a while until we just, but I know people to this day that they barely shed a tear when someone dies. They mourn the relationship as they know it, but they have confidence that soul exists just in a different way. So, I mean, literally, all of these things are changing, and they're changing in front of all of us, and they're doing it quite quickly. And that's kind of what we're seeing out there, too.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Yeah, I mean, it's, we are our government. I think that once we start putting out that us and them, I mean, we are our government. So it's changing. People are getting fed up, but they didn't do that before. Everybody was kind of comfortable. We went to work. We came home. We were more occupied with our own existence. Now it's starting to expand. So all those headlines you see, just kind of let them go. Look at it all as a wake-up call that things are changing. And I for one, am very excited about it. I mean, so that's, again, Jesse, a wonderful question. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Jesse, is there anything you want to talk about real quick before we jump off the call with you, brother?
No, I just want to say thank you so much for, bringing that up to me. And, yeah, I mean, that's a great point that these fears aren't meant to be pushed away. And I love how, Rob, I've told you before, it's in the New Age or metaphysical community, it's almost like it can be very much like people who you encounter are love and light, love and light, love and light. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but it sometimes almost feels it can feel disingenuous because it seems like they're rejecting the complexity of feeling hate or fear or whatever, or jealousy, all those things that, I think our media or a lot of people in your life, in my life, a lot of times even feel tell you not to acknowledge and not to really explore. And I love that you do that, that you're one of the channelers who doesn't place a negative connotation on negative feelings, because I'm having to I've been, kind of pushing away my own. It's really awesome seeing you have a holistic approach to it. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you, George. So, yeah.
Oh, you're welcome.
Absolutely, brother.
That's a great point, Jesse. I think that Treb, through these years as channeling, it's very clear to see that everything comes from a neutral standpoint. Positive and negative is just in your belief system. They don't look at it as it's this illusionary experience that we're in. You have to look at everything in more of a neutral. The soul doesn't care, positive or negative. it does not care. That's not where it's coming from. It's the way that it's the separation state that we're in this 3D existence. But now that we're raising our vibration and we're ascending to those higher aspects, that's what will bring the more of a neutral position where we really is our true nature.
Oh, absolutely, brother. And this actually, Jesse, I think is one of the greatest points you brought up, too. It's something that I've been exploring in myself and coming to an understanding of in the last few months. There are so many people in the metaphysical community who are born into families who are very high in spirituality, very high in openness, and that love and light concept is brought up to them, perhaps not in the terminology that we use, but in one form or another, the love and light concept's brought up, and it is almost shaming to be outside of those feelings, and you're absolutely right. And what makes it so amazing to me, people ask me the same question. They go, how can you have these views of acceptance of all these negative things? They think it's because I'm just a genuinely loving and open guy, and I'm not going to say that I'm not, because I do feel love. Even for people who are going through the hard things, the violence and the rage and the drug addictions and all these things, I understand that. I completely do accept it and I love it. But there's also a reason for that. These people who are brought up in the way of always loving, always light, always acceptance, and to look at the other things as bad, that genuinely is just as bad as the people who are in that disconnection, right, looking bad at people. I swear, I went through this whole experience. I went through the understanding, and then I went through that deep, deep, dark, horrible, horrible place of disconnection for so many years. And then I came out of it, and that's what gives me the best of both worlds. I used to be that guy who would look over at someone who was smiling and say, what are you so happy about? And that's a genuine feeling I had. So I understand that. And that it's a perfect concept because I've seen both sides, so I know what it's like to judge on both sides. When I first connected to Treb, when I first started coming out of my depression and disconnection, I had that same thing. Why can't everyone just love? Why can't everyone feel like I do? And I meditated 6 hours a day or 7 hours a day, and I was like, wow, this is so great to be in this high, loving connection. And me and George were just talking about this either today or yesterday, day or day before, and I said, you know what, I finally realized in the last couple of years, I came to realize that neutrality that Treb talks about and how it's so important. But I've also came to understand, as much as I enjoyed that love and light, that took me to a high spiritual place. And without a way to ground yourself to the earth experience, it makes it all null and void. It makes it not worth experiencing there. We're here as humans. We're here on earth. We're here for an earthly experience. And if you can't have fun, if you can't live in that earthly style while being light and loving and accepting, then all the spiritual things that you've learned as a child, all these things that you've grown up with mean nothing. It's the application of love in an environment that's not love. And if you can do that and hold that balance, it's beautiful. And I found a way, and I'm not going to say always and perfectly, but I found a way to pretty much hold the balance of being grounded and understanding the worldly things as well as appreciating my divine side as well. And that's the ticket. Finding that balance, finding that happy medium and that point of neutrality, just like all right. Treb's taught us all that. And neutrality is something too, brother. I know personally with you, you had that experience of being able to just have neutrality for months and months and months at a time, and how well that served you, and not just the growth of yourself, but the raising of your vibration. That's when you were able to do that. That's when you were seeing UFOs almost nightly. If you want to share about that, brother, I'd love to hear about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, when you really start understanding what it's all about, just like Daniel said a couple of weeks ago when he was on the show about the negative comments that sometimes people get, you know, like on their YouTube page or Facebook or whatever. I think, you know, we have to understand that we're all connected, okay? So that negative, that person that you perceive as negative, leaving a negative comment on your space there, is showing something about you, whether you see it or not. I mean, again, this is on a quantum level thinking, but we all are connected. And if someone sees, like, you might have 100 beautiful comments and then you get the negative one. Well, it's showing you something about it. It triggers and people get upset about it. So what is it actually showing you? It's showing you something about yourself. And I think when we start really seeing these, what I did, what you were mentioning, brother, was the learning to live in that neutral 3D perspective of standing outside yourself. I learned to view myself like, okay, what am I doing in this situation? Am I going to let it affect me in a negative way or a positive way? It's all about choice. Everybody has a choice about how they're going to view every particular situation. And it's really, I mean, we're the creators of that reality. So are we going to choose to look at it and really have the responsibility to look at it in a way that, hey, I'm responsible for this outcome. How am I going to choose to look at it in a positive or negative way? And when you start thinking of this in every moment of the day, then you start really creating the reality that you want. And that's my personal experience. But it's pretty easy to do. You just have to give it some thought. That's the only work you have to do, is just give it some thought.
Oh, absolutely, brother. And I know I've said this on probably 20 of our shows, but I get to the point through my awareness, and I'm not going to say every day. I'm going to say when I'm in the 5D days, which is more often than not in the last year. It's when I have that ability to perceive moment to moment. It's that moment-to-moment decision-making that you're talking about, brother, but it's also the moment-to-moment revisiting how we're manifesting. It's the perception of manifesting moment to moment. It's seeing that once our thought changes to a negative, that our energy drops to that. It sees that when our thoughts start focusing on the negative, then almost instantly we receive something negative that normally we wouldn't. Even if it's down to stubbing your toe or cutting your finger with a knife, any of those little things that people just say, it's an accident. They give their power away by doing that. When you're not seeing your creations moment to moment, you're literally giving away your power. That knife cut, that stubbed toe, that has nothing to do with accidental this and that. It's to do with right before that you're beginning to integrate negative thought or negative energy. And if it's not, it's because 2 hours ago you were doing that. And it's some people call it karma. I don't like karma because that has too many connotations, not only religious connotations, but also implying that you have to pay back energy. And it's not really that way. If you have a negative experience, you don't have to pay it back with positive or vice versa. You can always stay in one energy due to your thoughts and your energy that you're giving out. But what I'm getting at, people see these kind of alignments and they say, oh, no, this is an accident, or oh, no, this just happened by chance. No, you got to see your own manifestation. It's the ability to perceive it and knowing that you caused it. That is the most brilliant gift you could ever give yourself. When you could see, like Treb said, brother, when the fly bites you on the arm, you co-created that. And that's beautiful to know that even the smallest details of your life, even the slipping of a paper out of your fingers, that is co-creation. And you did it.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, the stuff that I've experienced after listening to these years of channeling, and it's so important to really listen to what they're saying. There's a message within the message in a lot of these channelings, and whatever you're experiencing, if it's not something that you prefer, all you have to do is say, okay, why did I create this? You literally have to do that. It's really, these are quantum thoughts, and start thinking out of the box. 5D and above it's already here. It's really always been here. But now we're just activating this ascension as a collective now. And it's, you really have to take you just really
I think that's it. All right. You still there, brother? You cut out for a couple seconds. You came back in a little distorted. Are you still there? All right. Well, we're going to wait to get George back here. All right. So, all right. I hope you guys can still hear me through the call. I believe you can. If so, we're going to get George back here. There we go. Now George is back, or he will be back in a second. And once that happens, it'll be a beautiful opportunity to reconnect to him. For some reason, we do have this problem once in a great while. There is a disconnection from the internet, and because we do this show through the internet, sometimes we feel that effect a little fully too. I believe you're back with us now, brother, aren't you?
Yeah. Sorry, it must be Mercury retrograde.
Oh, I've heard lots of horror stories about that also. Go ahead, brother, and if you can restart that last thought process you were on, we'd love to hear it again because it broke up quite a ways.
Yeah, sorry about that. It's really taking whatever we're experiencing. I suggest stepping back and saying, okay, did I want this, or what is this showing me that I needed to see for myself? And I think once you start thinking in those terms is when you can start changing, choosing. The kind of reality that you prefer. I mean, it's hard.
Absolutely, brother. Again, we're having a little lag behind and technical difficulties there. There you go, brother. You're back on. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's really, the first thing you have to do is just start thinking in these terms, thinking outside of the box, thinking about expanding your mind and thinking about these topics that we're talking about. When you listen to a channeler, really listen to what is resonating with you about that, and that's usually a trigger. That's what kind of got me into this understanding of what the channeling message is. There's a feeling behind the message, not only with the human words. A lot of the channeling can only be, it's really lowered down in vibration to our human words, but there's a feeling behind the expressions that are channeled through channelers from the higher selves, from the higher dimensional entities. And I think that it's that feeling that we have to resonate with, and how that touches our heart and how we perceive the information, and start putting that information together and using it in our day-to-day experience, from moment to moment. And it really gets exciting where you're saying that everything's okay. Everything where everybody is at is right where they need to be at that point. But when you want to start changing it, that's when you'll start noticing the minute by minute thoughts in your mind. And I think that's very important.
Absolutely, brother. And something too that you brought up that's very interesting to me too is the concept of feeling the feeling of these entities who are being channeled through various people and various energies. And I think that that's of vital importance too. A lot of people hold not just the channel themselves, but the channeler into a certain esteem. It's not really the way I try to do that with other channelers. It's not how I necessarily enjoy people to do with myself when I channel Treb. What I really like to get across is the energy itself and the message itself. And there is an amount of encoding that goes on there. There's an amount of message between the message that happens. Absolutely, brother. And that's why I love George being on the show with us, too. I think that you add so much to the breaking down of the channeling. That's why for such a long time we've been integrating channeled clips into our show so that we can break them down, because the channelings are important. The energy themselves, the encoded messages, and to have someone who channels himself to be able to channel and also have a good understanding of the actual entity and the way he speaks. And sometimes the speaking in itself can become somewhat difficult for people to understand because the way Treb phrases things. So I try to break that through. And then George himself goes for that encoded information. And I think that's what makes us such an efficient team. One of us is able to go deep into those and encode it, while I'm able to do the more surface things to bring a more complex message down to simplicity. And then for you to break down the deep parts of it, brother, and make it simple for people to hear.
Well, yeah, it's interesting how, like, if we take our three examples of the channelers that we've had, Brad Johnson, Daniel Scranton, and Wendy Kennedy, all of their messages are coming through in a it's coming through in our human words, but that frequency that it's expressed in has resonance to your heart. So what are you picking up out of those messages? A lot of times, if you're not focused into it, you're almost hearing every other word. But how does the channel message feel to your heart? That's how I do it. It's like, what is this touching inside of me, this message that they're speaking to us about? Because again, we're all connected when we're all one, so it has to affect us all on some form. It just depends on where you're picking it up. But again, these higher density entities are expressing. Remember, it's being broken down and putting their thoughts into human words, which is really not. It's probably expressing 10% of the real meaning that's coming through. And so I encourage everyone to just listen to these messages over and over and really, really kind of understand rather than just kind of pass them by, because to me it's just like a song, and it's so beautiful. I mean, I really appreciate what the channelers are doing, and they're putting it up on Facebook and YouTube. I mean, these are such beautiful messages, and I have so much respect and honor for the channelers that are doing that, and so many just wonderful messages, and they're all messages to humanity that we all need to incorporate. And they love us so much, and it's that love that will really change the way we are as a collective.
Oh, absolutely, brother. And it's funny you said that too. A certain percentage gets through from the original meaning after having to be almost dumbed down through a human experience.
Sure.
And that's how most people look at it. But I want to express my own personal experience with that for a moment, because it was such a great experience. I want to share that when I first started channeling, I had already known Treb for 2 years. I connected to him daily. Sometimes multiple times a day in meditation. And the messages and the way that it came through to me was so fluent, so beautiful, that when I started channeling, I almost disappointed myself, because I had seen that the fault had to have been in myself. I'm meeting this entity astrally, and this information flows beautifully, but when it comes through my body out of my mouth, it sounds like a kindergarten trying to reiterate a college lecture, and that's how I felt for so long. But the more I got in tune with myself, the better it flowed. And I still will express to most people who've heard the channeling and it resonates with them deeply and it's very strong to them, that's still only about 60% of how I experience Treb in the astral state. So if you can imagine how much you love Treb's work and how much it resonates with you and that feeling, imagine that times for additionally 40% added to it. Imagine how great that is. And that is still only a small fraction of Treb's consciousness that he gives to me in an astral state. Even when I'm meeting him in like an astrally projected physical state, that's still only a portion of his consciousness that he sends down to connect to me at that point. So literally 10% of what he is what we get. And that 10% blows a lot of us away. It still blows not just our hair back, but our heart back. And I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing, brother, about the energy. Listen to it, and that feeling you get when you hear those words, that's what you hold on to. Not the channel themselves, not the channeler themselves, the meaning and the feeling and the energy behind that message. I think that's such a beautiful, beautiful thing, brother. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome, brother. And I think what we can learn from all of this is really how much light we carry. I mean, we have, because we're in this 3D, meaning dense existence, but this evolving that we're going through is raising that vibration. So the more and more we get enlightened, the more and more we realize how we are an aspect of Source, and how much love and light, I mean, that's our true nature. So we have to start remembering who we really are. That's really the whole key to understanding this. I mean, they're giving us all this beautiful information. It's so we can remember really what we are and who we are. This is just the experience in the human form that we came here incarnated, you know. So I think it's really all about remembering who we really are, and really ascending in a higher vibration in this human form, which really hasn't been done before. So I think it's very important to understand this is really the first time that this has happened, where we could be in the states of awareness in this human form that we're in. So it's a beautiful. We all chose to be here at this time. So to me, everybody is a light worker that's on the planet right now.
Absolutely, brother. The thing, that's a beautiful thing. This is a true bookmark in humanity's history for that reason alone. I know that Risha's been on hold for almost the entire show, so I want to put her back on and kind of ask her, what kind of things have you learned, Risha, from the show? What kind of things have been brought, not just to your mind, but to your heart from this show?
Oh, wow, what a good program. And, you know, it is the heart. That's what this show has helped me get into my heart more. And it's almost as though now I'm beginning to think in my heart. Think first from my heart. That's such a change from me. I was a trauma nurse, and I was always really right there with everything in my, you know, from my head and thinking. And so to make that shift into my heart's been really, really awesome. And I think part of it is the vibration that you two bring in your voices and in your message, because that doesn't always go to my head. Sometimes it goes right to my heart. So I'm like hearing in my heart too. Isn't that it's just thrilling me to say that.
It's exciting, isn't it?
It really is.
And it's exciting, Risha. You know, I mean, you don't realize the effect that you have on not only me and Rob here, but you know, those listeners. I mean, there's no mistake that you're calling in and expressing yourself in this way. Your ability to perceive the obvious is quite remarkable, and it's a testament of how we are evolving, and you know, you're getting it. You know, little by little. It can't happen all at once. It has to be a process. And so I thank you so much for expressing your thoughts like that. They really, I mean, for me, it's the callers that call in and being able to have this dialogue that really makes the show wonderful.
Oh, absolutely, Risha. And that's a beautiful thing. The amount that humanity has grown looks somewhat insignificant to many people, but just in the last 2 years, and I've been connected to Treb for over 5 now, so just in the last 2 years, I've seen how much we've all grown together, and people like you reflect that growth back to me and George too. And it's not just the excitement that we have that maybe we're helping that collective in our own excitements in our own life, but it's also to see the things that we can't see about ourselves that you bounce back to us. Like I said before, this last couple months has been a more difficult time with me dealing with relationships in my life, things that I perceived would be forever and long term, and they're broke down, and they're beginning to show themselves for what they really were to me, instead of what I had always told myself that they would be. So your words reflect back to me on my times of hardship, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. And I'm lucky, and I'll admit that to everyone. I am so wonderfully blessed by the amount of people that reach out to me on a daily basis who have that capability of looking from their heart and listening from their heart. I have an above average amount of people around me who do that just because of my work with Treb. Same with George, and we're so blessed to have that. But for those who don't, the dialogue that's created with you showing me reflections of myself and me and George doing that for you. I mean, what a beautiful, beautiful way to mix it all together. You know, what a beautiful way to co-create such a beautiful experience for as many people as are willing to do it. And that's why the callers, the information, the experiences, more so than the information that is shared from the callers, is such a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yes, I just couldn't agree more. And your idea that you started the show with community, that is so powerful. I feel it really happening. We haven't met physically, and yet there's a real feeling of community. There's a real feeling of love. And like Sativa, is that her name? No, Savita.
Savita, yeah.
Savita.
We're sending love to Savita, and I know she will get it and her family too. It's really powerful, and look what we can do with our intentions, just being together this way. It's awesome. And yes, I feel very thankful too that I have those people in my life.
Well, we thank you too. We thank you, Risha, so much for calling and being a part of it. It's almost time to get ready to start winding down for the show, so we just wanted to get you back on to reflect any last moment thoughts. And thank you so much, Risha, for being a part of the show. We appreciate it more than you know.
Thank you, Risha.
I love to. Everybody.
Well, we love you too, and feel free to call in anytime you feel the need to reflect. And also, like I said in our personal communications, contact me as often as you like with how busy it's been. If you don't bug me, you won't get me. So just keep them coming on Skype, and I'll get back with you in the next day or two, okay?
Okay.
All right. You take it easy, and we love you.
Love you, Risha.
Love you too.
All right. Thanks again, Risha. I just want to remind everybody, if you've enjoyed listening to the Robin George Show and you haven't had that opportunity to do it live yet, you can do that live every week, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern. That's 6 p.m. Pacific. We're here at Blog Talk Radio every Wednesday, sunshine, snow, or rain. We're going to be here for all of you guys. We do this from our own heart, from our own love, to raise the collective consciousness, to put out the information that helps people. And we do it also, it comes at a cost for the radio programs, the equipment, things that we get. So if you feel that giving donations back is something that's adequate to reflect the energy that you enjoy sharing, we welcome it. If not, either if you don't feel like it or can't afford, just sit and listen, because it doesn't matter. You're giving back energetically anyway. So we thank you guys for doing that. There's a donation thing under the description at blogtalkradio.com. If you don't see it and you see it on Facebook, in the description, there's also one there. So just to let you guys know, we're here all the time. By next week, we will have a permanent date also for the Open Forum 22, which will be here on Blog Talk Radio, but not on the night of the Robin George Show. We want to keep the Robin George Show to just the Robin George Show, whether it be with me and George conversing publicly with the public and callers, or if we have guests. Every time we have a guest, we will always talk to them up front and then give the chance for the community to do as they do to us every week and call and interact and exchange energy, information, requests, and questions. That's what we do here. That's what we love to do. Also, if you want to contact us, the Robin George Show at gmail.com. We have a Facebook page called The Robin George Enlightenment Evolution Hour. That's a Facebook like page. But we're also going to get a Facebook group starting called Friends of Robin George Show. And we'd love for you guys to join Facebook tomorrow. Obviously, tonight's the 30th, so on Halloween Day, it'll be nice and open for the public to come and join us. Put in your information, share experiences, share pictures, share whatever you want, as long as we're all coming together to co-create the off-air energy and the off-air experience. I know for me and George personally, this is one of our favorite things in life to do, is to get on here and talk to you guys and to exchange that energy. Tell them too, brother, how that has affected you and your own personal experience, the energy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't put into words the love that is expressed when the callers call in. I mean, that's payment enough. I mean, when we, like Jesse and Risha today express their experiences, and I think what's really good, brother, is that this Facebook page that you're going to make. I think I have a good feeling that the people that will be on that, when they get more comfortable with us, conversing back and forth via Facebook, I think maybe it'll enhance them to call and express their feelings so we can all listen to them. And I think we really don't realize how important that those expressions of experience that really help all of us. I mean, this isn't just a BS. This is really truth. That the expressions that our callers call in, they really enlighten all of us that are listening. It's like, oh yeah, I thought that way, or this happened to me, or again, it takes a lot of courage to call in and express yourself. So I think if you don't realize how important it is and how special it is for us to be able to converse with you and talk about this subject that we all love, obviously, and it really raises everybody's vibration. And I wish we could do it on a national level where there's more, hundreds of people listening, and conversing back and forth and becoming Facebook friends and really sharing with each other. And, with Savita, who of us hasn't lost someone? We know how she feels. We feel for her, and it's like we can all embrace her as a community. And she'll be there for us, and we have to be there for each other through these times of change, and we'll all make it through together. It'll be great.
Oh, absolutely, brother. And I just want to make the announcement that the Robin George, or Friends of the Robin George Show, is officially up and started. I just did it while George was talking. So all of you who are listening tonight, feel free to type in your browser, Friends of the Rob and George Show. I've already got myself, George, Brad, Wendy, and Daniel added, as well as Nora, as well as Daryl Anka. So all of them have been added instantly, and I'm adding people as I go. Everyone who I know who's either interested or has been a part of the Robin George Show, such as Awaken Within. I've already invited her. Vashta is coming on. My friend John from Arizona, he'll definitely be there. We're just inviting everyone that we know. And feel free to join yourself. All you have to do is request. Go there, join us. Also, you can go to the like page, the Robin George Enlightenment Evolution Hour, and we always post every week before the show. We post a link to the new show up so you can come and join. You can come and join yourself with us live or in an archive forum. The links will always stay the same. So come and join us, guys. We love you guys so much. Anything else, brother, that you want to talk about before we jump off the air tonight?
No, it's just what a coincidence that this show will be started on Halloween. I mean, this is when the veil is the thinnest, I hear. So it's exciting, and let's all get excited about November. Let's not look at it as a negative. Let's look at it as something that we have to go through collectively and be really positive about it, and all good things will happen then. So I'm really excited, and again, another great show, brother. I'm so happy that we're able to co-create this together.
Oh, absolutely, brother, and so am I. We love you guys so much, and we thank you all for co-creating this beautiful experience with us this evening. One of the greatest non-guest shows that we've ever had, and I hate to qualify anything, but I love it. I love the energy. I love the callers. I love the interactions. We love all of you guys so much. And don't forget, we'll be here next Wednesday, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. We love you all. And this is the Robin George Enlightenment Evolution Hour. This is Rob.
And this is George.
And we love you guys. Good night.
Good night.